Hi, this is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life. Appreciate you guys joining us. This is me with Brian Johnson, the city manager. Hey, Brian.
Hey Rico, how are you?
Good to have you. Um, we haven't done this in a while, but before we get into this, let me just say thank you to two of our sponsors, EV Remodeling Inc. and Eli, the owner, based here in Peachtree Corners. They're a great company, great family. They do design to build. So from everything from rebuilding your house to adding a deck or an extension or just redoing your kitchen. They've done over 260 family homes and stuff. So check them out. They just will do great work for you. Our second sponsor is Vox Populi, also here based in Peachtree Corners. If you have a company and you're doing either trade shows or you have a company and you're trying to get your brand name out, they're the company to do it with because they deal with everything from vehicle wraps, wrapping that whole truck or that car, to trade show booths, to garments for your business, or to if you're doing a Peachtree Corners Festival and you need the tent and you need branding, they'll take care of that. So anything you need your logo imprinted onto almost any object, they'll figure it out for you. So check them out. Vox Populi is the company. Tell them we sent you. So thanks for supporting us. So Brian, it's been a while. I think we got a few things to touch on to talk about. Lots happening this year. As one city councilman told me it's going to be an exciting year of stuff going on. Um, but things going on right now. Um, so let's start off with, I guess one of the biggest things, or we just had an informational meeting about. So we had a lot of comments on our social post about this is about installing possibly another roundabout. This was an informational meeting, right? And the roundabout, similar to the one that's on Peachtree Corners Circle and Medlock Bridge Road, right? But this one's going to be located between the Forum and Creme de la Creme on also Peachtree Corners Circle. So, can you give us the details on that or high level?
Yeah, so it boiled down, it really comes to this. If anybody's ever left the Forum on the south end by Trader Joe's and wanted
Mhm.
to turn on a Peachtree Corner Circle,
Yeah.
really any direction, but certainly if you're trying to make a left out of there, it's kind of a dangerous, intersection. It's unsignalized. Peachtree Corner Circle coming from the west or the right side, if you were, leaving the Forum, is
Yeah.
coming over down a hill around a corner. You're crossing over, I believe, what at that point, you're at least 5 lanes of traffic are
Yes.
at that, 2 lanes each way in a middle turning lane.
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous intersection. And as the four activity at the Forum increases, the property right across the street, right next to Creme de la Creme, is
Hmm.
zoned for condos.
Right.
So that could get developed. And then we're going to talk here shortly about just up the road, the Day Building property, which is actually the next property over. That just got approved. And so traffic is going to even increase even more. We cannot put a signal, another traffic signal at that intersection because it's too close to the Peachtree Corner Circle, Peachtree Parkway intersection.
Yeah.
So we either have to leave it the way it is, or a roundabout allows people, especially the most dangerous turning movement is leaving the Forum, turning left.
Yeah, for sure.
And that, there's no way to resolve that and I guess unless you did a four-way stop, which I'm not. I mean, that's again not just 2 lanes of traffic each direction. It can't put a signal. So a roundabout allows people who want to turn left to actually turn right first
Mhm.
into the roundabout and then just stay in the roundabout as you can go around to the left. So it's almost like making turning right to ultimately make a left. But you would turn right and enter the roundabout and then just follow the roundabout around until you're now facing Peachtree Parkway and then you head straight. So we did a big traffic analysis. The city did, along with Gwinnett County DOT and Georgia DOT, and a roundabout fits at that location. And so right now, Where we're at is council, or the city had an open house recently,
Yep.
to solicit public comment on it. We're sharing with you, have some, and we're sharing the remainder of the information with you, Rico, so people can get on your social media posts and see, but it'll ultimately, a lot of this detail will be hosted on our website, but they can see everything from the traffic analysis, the accident
Right.
reports, the design concepts. But we're doing that so that council can ultimately decide if this is a good to go
So,
project. And so that's where we're at with that project.
okay, and we'll have links. We have an article being written about it, but we'll have links to the website, to the resources that you talked about. We'll have that in the show notes. And this video, I think a 3D video also that we'll be sharing.
Yeah, it's an
That shows.
actual traffic model. So we
Yeah.
took real traffic data from that intersection
Yes.
and then applied it at different times of the day on how this new roundabout would address that traffic count, that real traffic count. So that is not like oh, here, let's just throw a number of cars going through it. It is actually from the traffic counts we
Yes.
have at that
And I
intersection.
remember the consultant telling me that. I asked him, I said, it looks like an awful lot of cars. And he says, well, this is based on what the traffic is. Um,
Well,
you-
yeah, at the worst time, like,
correct.
say at 5:30,
Right.
how would it handle that? I mean, it's easy to handle traffic there if it's, 2 in the
Mhm.
afternoon or, 9 in the morning, but we want to know what it's like, especially in the evening and rush hour, because the forum's not open in the early morning. So the morning rush hour traffic isn't so bad.
It's the
Evening
evening.
is
Yeah.
definitely afternoon into evening.
Well, and
So,
when you have people leaving the forum, when you have people coming through wanting to go into the forum, you have people leaving creme de la creme, you have people going left out of the QT station,
yep,
which once this is put, if I understand correctly, it'll be a right in, right out only
that is correct.
because there'll be a medium across the way. You can't even
Correct.
go
And you
across.
won't be able to make a left out of the J. Alexander's curb cut that's closest to Peachtree Parkway. They
Right. You
have
won't be able to do
two right
that
there
either. Yeah.
because that's actually going across
That's actually worse.
7 lanes of
Yeah.
traffic with the turning lanes included.
I can't
So
even see how someone wants to make a left out of there.
I
That's
know, but
dangerous
people
right there.
do.
Yeah, it's crazy. And making a right out of or coming out of the Forum by the Trader Joe's that driveway. I mean, I've personally seen, anecdotally, if you will, one or two accidents roughly a year every
So have I.
16 months or so. And that's what I've seen there. And I've seen people in the medium stacked two, three, four cars. And if the first car doesn't do their turn. The car behind them wants to play chicken and wants to come through sometimes. It's like, So I'm looking as I'm coming towards Peachtree Corners Baptist Church with the QT behind me. I'd have to be looking at the right side to see the foreign people, either people coming out to make a right or it's coming cutting straight across, or wanting to go from that median going into the forum, and even sometimes the creme de la creme people wanted to make a left out of there as well,
Yes.
cutting across. And who's going to
Across,
cut
at the
first?
same time, somebody may want to make a left out of the forum and creme de la creme and the
Yes,
forum, and then they're, yeah.
yes,
And so the only two
crazy.
options we have really, again, GDOT won't let us put a traffic signal there because it's too close to their signal on Peachtree Parkway.
Right.
You can't really put a four-way stop where you have that many lanes. So we either leave it alone and just keep hoping for the best, or we do something that allows anybody who wants to make a left to technically do it by making a right into the
Right.
traffic circle and then coming back
And
around.
I,
So,
and I think there'll be some improvements based on what was learned from the roundabout. At the other place, that there'll be some what's called brambles, I guess,
yep.
stopping people cutting across from one lane to the other as they're coming around. So there'll be areas where they can feed into naturally into the lane. Um, but yeah, so I thought that was good. And so if you guys want to check out the links, you'll be able to see that information and stuff. So that's cool. So let's talk about also 2022 Technology Parkway. Um, that was originally had an old developer that came in that was actually approved, I think, for just almost 300 units apartments.
A
But
little
now
bit
new,
more than 300,
more
yeah.
than 300, right? So now a new developer came in. And so tell us a bit about that, because now it's moving towards equity property, I think, or
Well, no,
oh,
that one
under.
isn't, but yeah, so the original application that was approved for rezoning was to combine 20 and 22 Tech Park South, which is at the corner of PIB and Technology Parkway South. And to combine the properties and then put, around 350-ish apartment units on two different, I don't know if you want to call them towers, but I would say 6-story
Hmm,
properties there,
yeah,
built on top of where the existing buildings had been demoed. And the original owner, ends up selling it. And so when the new developers come in, we, work with them, and the ultimate product that they ask to be developed is reducing it by, I don't know, somewhere near 100. So there's like about 100 less units going in,
mhm,
not as tall, but it is still a multifamily, development right there at the corner, all being built on existing parking lot or foundation of existing building.
right.
Anybody's driven there recently, that's an old building that had structured parking there.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
derelict, people are breaking into it, and so it's a code enforcement, kind of challenge right now, but the developers were approved for this less dense product than was previously approved. So in that vein, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
And again, Tech Park and the businesses in Tech Park need, it's healthy to have a mix of housing units in amongst these buildings, because
yeah.
employees like to be able to work close to or live close to where they work. So this is a good node right there at PIB. Yeah, we're excited about the project, and have every reason to believe the developer is going to jump right on it.
It's amazing how's its transition, Tech Park, 500 acres of office, all office, to slowly being more residential in there as well.
Yeah, the
Um,
mix. Yep.
yeah, a mix of it because the world has changed. There's still a lot of people working remote, still a lot of, office buildings just, you know, going the way of this, if you will.
And we did part of that small area plan that council just approved recently was a office inventory in which we graded the quality of the remaining office.
Ah,
And we identified the offices that are, and it's a lesser percentage, but there are some that are almost at a point where you're not going to ever see somebody fill it with, you know, commercial tenants anymore, because the
mhm.
building requires too many upgrades for it to be competitive.
Yeah,
So those are ones that council will be, more amenable to consider transitioning it to residential.
right.
Some of the office product, if an application came in and they wanted to demo or repurpose an office, council would say no, because we do want to also protect our office product. It's still a very important part of our, local economy. So we're being very, selective in which ones we might allow for this to happen and which ones we won't.
Okay. Talking about another one, also the Day Building, which is on Peachtree Corners Circle. People might be familiar with that building. It's before the Creme de la Creme on the right-hand side going up a hill. Um, so they've originally came in, wanted to do 225 units or somewhere about there, retail, townhomes, or mixed use. Um, that was denied, I think, at some point, and then they filed suit trying to figure out, we want to use this land, let us use this land, and then they went into a settlement with the city. So tell us a bit about that. And they resubmitted, I think, right?
Yes, and that is all true. And so they came back as part of settlement discussions and changed it from a mixed use product that had 225-ish or so apartments to an all equity development of around 60, maybe a little bit more than 60 townhomes on that product or on that property. That property has two entrances. one on Peachtree Corner Circle, and then the backside also has ingress egress onto what's Data Drive.
Right.
Then if you take Data Drive up, it goes into Triangle Parkway near
Yeah.
Cornerstone Christian.
Right.
So this development will have two entrances, so it won't have to dump everything out on Peachtree Corner Circle all the time.
Hmm.
But it does allow us, as part of this settlement agreement, we mandated if you are on Peachtree Corner Circle, say heading from Spalding towards Peachtree Parkway, and you start coming around that, down the hill around the corner, getting close to the Forum, Creme de la Creme, the current entrance doesn't have a deceleration lane. So people don't realize there's an entrance there. And all of a sudden, when you're on this corner where you would think there's no entrances anywhere, we're at a higher rate of speed, people
Hmm.
turning into it all of a sudden slow down, and people behind are like, why are you slowing down? So we required a deceleration lane, so now they can get out of the normal
Right.
travel lane and decelerate outside of it. That will help. But yeah, this product goes from, again, 200 plus apartment units down
Right.
to 60-ish equity townhomes, and that's it. No commercial, no retail, just residential. And it's an office product that probably would remain vacant if we didn't allow this, because the office is so old, it would require more money than they could make by keeping it office, just because office product, like you said, is just not at a premium right now.
No, no, changing environment and out there and more density, I mean, even multi-use, right? Multi-use is changing also. There's
It
not,
is.
right? There's not as much, well, unless you go up to Johns Creek, I guess. They just approve some a big multi-use retail density
Yeah,
apartments.
but that's part of their new town center, though.
Right. So that's a whole different thing. Um, so okay, so there's quite a few, things going on there as far as residential development and stuff. The other thing that I noticed,
And real quick, we had
go
one
ahead.
more at our last council meeting we're talking about, and that's 333 Research Court.
Right. Okay, I was going to save that for later, but let's go into that.
Oh, okay. Well, I
No,
mean,
no, okay.
it was all kind of in the whole,
Yeah,
genre of having selected office buildings that were of poor enough quality that the
yeah,
occupancy, or call it the vacancy, was so high, and the property owners had come in and said, we're not, we can't keep it as an office. We're never going to be able to get
yeah.
tenants without pouring a lot of money. And right now the demand isn't high. So it's another one. It's at the end of Research Court. Probably the best way to know is if you're looking at Norcross High School, to the right of their main building is a bunch of classroom trailers. If you walk directly through them into the woods, there's a buffer there. You would come into the back parking lot of somewhere that the only way to drive through it is you got to go into Tech Park, onto Technology Parkway, Research
Right,
Court, and at the
right.
very back. Anyway, this is converting that property into, their original attempt was to put about, I don't know, 100, just maybe under 100 stacked flats.
Hmm.
It was an equity product, but it was stacked flats. They were not able to make the numbers quite work on that, and so they decreased the density of the equity, and that's going to be around 60-ish or so townhome product as well. So that's where that is at. And again, a carefully selected node within Technology Parkway, where we feel like having a small cluster of residential will meld well with the
Yeah.
existing higher quality office to create the mixed use that Tech Park is becoming.
I like the fact that we go from, I mean, there's a reason for multi-use, and the reason for multi-family development, actually. But I like the fact that we're moving towards equity, like these equity properties. I think that more stabilizes the community also a bit. Um, that's a lot of development decisions that have been made. There's been some also first reads of some other stuff that will be in the next city council meeting. So we'll have links to these things that you all can visit because the city set up on their website a special page showing development applications. So you all can actually go there and you can actually look through the applications and see the the maps and stuff and what's coming up over the next month or two. Um, there's somewhere else also in Technology Park, things going on there. I saw some clear cutting just recently, so something's happening, something's beginning. I remember seeing a check, a federal, I think it was Congressman Bordeaux at the time, gave a check for over $500,000 back in 2022 for this, and it's a mobility hub in Technology Park. So it's called Curiosity Corner now. So tell us a little bit about that and what's coming there, Brian.
So it's at the corner of Scientific Drive and Technology Parkway. And really almost across the street from Global Aviation, that area.
Yeah.
It is, what, a 3+ acre parcel, and it's going to be everything. It's a mobility hub, so all things mobility can come together there. Everything from the Gwinnett County Transit bus has their route there to EV charging so that you could have electric vehicles,
Hmm.
e-bikes, e-scooters, all things mobility can come together there.
Right.
Testing around that with, and then Curiosity Lab ecosystem can happen there. There's also drone location for drone, both testing and as well as if we have interested companies that are starting to get into the drone delivery space.
Hmm.
A number of companies like Amazon, Google that have arms that are doing, point to point, uh, you know, it's like I guess retail to customer
Right.
direct
Uh-huh.
delivery of things like medicine and other things, but they need locations in cities to make this work. This could be one of those. And
Hmm.
we're also turning it into an amenity to make the employees within businesses here in Technology Park have a place, an amenity to go to kind of create the sense of place within the entirety of Tech Park.
Hmm.
Here, we're going to have food truck stalls with, plug-ins right there, covered seating, with fans underneath it and
Yep.
public 5G Wi-Fi.
Uh-huh.
And our hope is that it creates an opportunity for employees in Tech Park businesses to be able to go to maybe for lunch and not have to get on that river of cars that's either Peachtree Parkway or PIV.
Right. Right.
To get together, to socialize. There's some open space there that there could even be some, organized events, maybe in the evening. Something, that
You're gonna have some green
they can have
space,
green
green space
space
there
there,
too.
yes. So it's a mix of a lot of stuff. It is a mobility hub, but it's going to be both for practical,
Mhm.
purposes, and as far and testing as well, which is what this ecosystem
Yeah.
of Curiosity Lab has become.
It's amazing. We did a podcast about May mobility, and people that have gone through Tech Park probably have seen this car. Has a wrap and stuff like that. Um, it drives like 35 miles an hour at least, and it's going through, and people will see no driver. There's not even, a
Not
driver
even a
just
person in the car,
not
right?
a person in the car. Right. So it looks really strange when you see it. And when I
Yes.
drove in it, getting into that middle seat with some people and seeing this car drive by itself, it's kind of weird too, because it takes you a little while to like, damn, look at that. It's just moving.
Yeah, there's nobody there in case something happened for them to grab the
Nothing.
wheel. That's
That's
what.
right. Yes.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had safety stewards in some of the other autonomous
Hmm.
vehicles.
Yeah.
So they've been autonomous, but you always had that person that was sitting there and they weren't driving, but they were there. This one doesn't even have that. So it is a
No.
little bit of a
So
unique experience.
so the interesting part is too that it'll go up and down Technology Parkway, and it goes through City Hall. Parking, City Hall area, and then comes out and goes to what the former Anderby jug
Yep.
turn, if you want to call it that, where it comes out and make a left back out onto the street to come on back. So we're doing a
It
photo shoot.
also goes through the Marriott parking lot
The,
when it
right,
makes,
the Marriott.
so
Yep, yep. So we're doing a photo shoot in front of City Hall. We have the marshals there, and we're doing this photo shoot. The cars are parked right literally in front of City Hall, and we're doing the shoot. And all of a sudden, I noticed there's a car waiting to get through. And I'm like, I turn and it's the main mobility car. And it's like it stopped, and it's just waiting. I'm like, is that supposed to be staging from here? What is going on? No, the damn thing. It's just waiting. It's waiting, and it's like I think we need to let it go through. So we step off the parking lot a bit. Now, mind you, these marshal cars are pointing towards us away from the building. They were like, we had three of them there like that. And so we stepped off. We're still near the edge and it's not moving. So I was like, maybe it's the cars or maybe it's us. What if we take a couple more steps back? We did that. All of a sudden, after a second or two, it decides, okay, maybe I'll slowly start moving. So slowly starts moving, weaves its way up, and then picks up speed and then goes. And I was like, it was actually waiting for us. Look at that. It actually worked the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, it does. Although, it's interesting without people there, normally if somebody was there and you didn't want to move, you could like motion them to like go around or something.
Really?
But, I
Yeah.
mean, because if you were
Oh,
driving and you drove
yes.
up there and I'm like, Rico, we're doing something, can you go
Yes.
around? And
Right.
you're like,
Right.
okay,
But
this
that car
one,
won't do it.
it's
Yeah.
like, look, this is the direction of travel I'm supposed to be driving. You're
Yeah.
in my way. My, AI and my, all our
Uh-huh.
sensors say, I can't go until you get out of the way. But
Yeah.
once you do, it's like, all right, it looks clear. All right. And
Yeah.
then it goes. I mean, so it works.
No, and it made the right choice because there were
Sure.
three cars that were pointing at it pretty much as it was going, and but it was waiting for us to get off, and then it made that decision that those three cars are parked, that even though they weren't in parking spaces. So it had to make that intelligent choice to say it's not going to move. They're just pointing that way. It's stable for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, it was just an interesting thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right, so we got just a few more quick things that we talked about a little bit about a special use permit that's being this is a bit proactive decision the city council is making and the city's making about data centers and creating special use permit for that. Walk us through why that as a proactive thing, why that makes sense.
Yeah, so also at this last council meeting, we had a couple preemptive moves. This one is just merely for us to require anybody wanting to construct a data center. And by data center, I'm essentially saying these are large buildings that are constructed to house server farms. And this is when somebody says, oh, I'm saving something to the cloud.
Right.
Well, there's not anything actually in the cloud. It's still going to a server,
Hmm.
but the cloud is really server farms. And these can be hundreds of thousands of square feet of just servers that require a lot of electricity and a lot of water to oftentimes cool the space. And they serve a purpose.
Hmm.
But if you're not careful and somebody's got the current zoning allow for it, you could
Yeah.
find property chewed up with very large buildings that don't really provide value to the city, because you could have hundreds of thousands of square feet of these servers and 5 employees that are managing it, and it's
Yeah.
not generating retail transactions for us to get sales tax, and it's not the headquarters of a company that would pay us a business license. So we essentially could have large, very valuable property chewed up with this, but it's not a value add to us as a city. We feel like there might be exceptions where we could have a modest size one, maybe in conjunction with something else, with a Google or whatever, Amazon, whatever. But oftentimes these big ones are better left for more rural areas.
Hmm.
We've become more of a redevelopment city because we don't have a lot of undeveloped property left.
Right.
So our property is a premium. And so there's Metro Atlanta has a lot of tire kicking going on with developers wanting to do it because the demand for cloud storage just keeps going up and up.
Yeah.
And we want to be very careful. So we made it to where each specific instance has to get in front of council and has to have a public hearing. And so
So you
that's what this is to do.
So you at the beginning, before we started the podcast, you were saying there were a lot of tire kickings going on, I guess. Was it from that, or was it also from trends that you saw or other cities having some of the same issues? How did this sort of, get on your list of that we need to take care of this?
Well, reading some of the recent, I think even the AJC had not too, but a couple weeks ago, a recent article about the demand in Georgia as a whole or Metro Atlanta specifically. And so that got it kind of got on our radar screen. We did have specific tire kicking going on here by a developer who was actually, my community development director, Sean Adams, will get calls with people asking, "Hey, representing a property owner or whatever, and I wanted to know, is this an eligible use?" And he was getting a little bit of those. And so then
Yeah.
he did look, he did look out nationally to see what our city's doing, what are best practices.
Mhm.
He took that and crafted his own language, made it ours, and then presented it to me, and I put it on the agenda for council to consider. So all of what you said is boiled or added together is kind of how it ultimately got on an agenda, but it is a preemptive move. So
Mhm.
this we will we now do have this protection. So if somebody want to do it, council's got to approve it, and there's got to be a public hearing so the community gets a chance to weigh
Yeah.
in on it as well.
It's good to see the function of the city mechanics, if you will, how things come about, why you look at certain things and stuff. So it's good, I think, for the public to see this. That it's not just pulled out of nowhere. It's like, why this? Why data centers? Well, because these trends that you all even went out to look at the competitive field, what was being
Yep.
done, best practices. It's all great. Um, Rezoning Board of Appeals, rezoning board, I guess, and the Planning Commission. They were recently, and I've noticed there on the reason on the I guess the is it the rezoning or the zoning board of appeals, I guess. There were a lot of canceled meetings at certain points. Wasn't being probably needed, but you all decided to merge, I guess, both the both of those.
Yes, so zoning board of appeals hears cases of, where somebody has, a hardship due to a zoning or a code compliance,
Mhm.
and so they don't have a lot of cases every year. In fact, 2 years ago, we went the entire year and there was no case for them to hear, no hardship case for them
Right.
to weigh in on. So it started to get to where you ask somebody or somebody's interested in being civically active, you put them on the ZBA, and then they don't have a meeting for a year
Yeah.
or they're canceled out. That's one. Two, training. You like to, these board members oftentimes go to training and, we want them to be trained up. And so we just thought that, what, we'll, support and provide even additional training to one group, and we
Mhm.
combine the planning commission and the ZBA together. So now planning commissioners will also hear, you know, appeal cases on city code that the ZBA would have heard. And so we're combining it, we're adding, because it's a more, call it a body that hearing two types of cases, we decided to add two additional spots. So the planning
Gotcha.
commission grew, but now we won't have a ZBA. The planning commission will serve in that capacity.
And for people that may not be aware, Planning Commission, these are volunteer positions of appointed people, citizens from our community.
Yep.
The Zoning Board of Appeals would look at not only commercial but residential appeals, right? So if someone wanted a little leniency on the easement on their property, maybe, or they needed,
Or they wanted to park an RV. A common one is park an
right,
RV in their driveway permanently if they're not
right.
using it for long period, where that's not allowed per code. And
Hmm.
they make a hardship case. And, the ZBA would say, yeah, you do have a hardship case. We're going to allow it on that particular property. So it's an important role.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So, so that's cool. So I think the next one was the new zoning district for the infill residential development. So what does that mean to most people, Brian? What's the infill?
Well, you know, people knew anything about Peachtree Corners, again, are going to look at the city and be like, there's not a lot of undeveloped property left. So, we are more of redevelopment. So now new projects are oftentimes they involve the tearing down of a use that's run its cycle. Maybe it was an office building for 50 years, but now it's time for there to be a new office or something else, or maybe a combination. Well, when that happens, there are oftentimes pockets of smaller properties that maybe things have changed and we could put them to good use. A good example of that would be commercial office buildings used to have a higher um, uh, parking spot per square foot ratio
Yeah.
than we need now. There used to be the big sea of parking in front of a big, box store is
Yeah.
no longer the case. So we oftentimes have office product as a good, again, a good example where there could be twice the amount of parking that they need, but they'd like to do something with it. Well, maybe
Mhm.
there's an opportunity for infill. And so there are pockets there's not a lot of them, but we have pockets where we were kind of like, what are we going to do with these? We don't have a zoning classification that allows for certain smaller, you could almost argue shoehorn things, but yet if you
Yeah.
don't do anything, it's kind of a waste of a property. And so we want to maximize be our property and be as flexible as we can. So again, the
Mm.
community development director looked at best practices and came up with the infill residential.
Yeah.
So this could be to where you could put smaller, pockets of residential, and oftentimes maybe it doesn't have the same buffer requirement that you would normally have, or some of those other things. And so it's
Mhm.
just a way for us to be flexible. Again,
Okay.
there's not a lot of cases, but there are some cases where we think there could be a use here. So it's just providing us, it's adding to our, you know, our bag of tricks, if you will, when it comes to trying to maximize what is not, we're not getting any more property right now, so we've got to make the best of what we have.
So it's good to see the city being proactive. So not just reactive to everything that's coming along, right? You want to plan things out. I mean, that's why the comprehensive plan is there that just got revised and stuff. Um, we've hit on quite a few things. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the city, more things coming. Anything that we've left out, Brian, that you just want to mention for the time being, or?
No, not really. I mean, encourage people to go. I think you put a link on there. The latest edition of Peachtree Corners Life has the mayor has a column in there. Uh,
Yes, on
you
our
know,
website about deer population.
Yes,
Yes.
and the deer. So for those who want to know what we're doing, and we're actively getting to a point where we will have a deer management plan. But if anybody's curious as to what we're doing there, I encourage them to read that. But right now that was our last council meeting was a lot of land use stuff,
Yep.
good things. Essentially, all but one project was equity, um, and and all of it was city negotiated a less dense product,
Mhm.
taking into consideration traffic and other things. So, I think these are going to be, it's going to be new injection of life into property that right now is stagnated. So good things. And we'll continue to drive forward.
Sounds good. We've been spending our time with Brian Johnson, city manager. Always appreciate his willingness to come on and talk about things. Southwest Gwinnett Magazine. Let me just show you. This just is probably hitting your mailbox this week. Wesleyan Artist Market, that's happening at the end of April. So check this out. Some decently good stories in here about summer camps and local author, Great Atlanta Christian and their expansion and some other things. Even a former Beatles tribute drummer who just opened a coffee shop here on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. Well, Peachtree Boulevard, actually. I need to start saying that.
There's still a section that's PIB.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, technically it's Peachtree Boulevard if you're heading north from 285 until the split. At the split, if
Yeah.
you stay on the right heading north, it's still PIB.
Ah,
It's only
okay.
Peachtree Boulevard while it's a state route.
Gotcha. Thanks for
So
explaining
there is still
that.
a section of PIB as it heads up into Gwinnett.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to
I,
be a government junkie to know all this stuff.
no, I appreciate it. And I'm more of a political junkie than government junkie, so but
I'm
thanks.
paid to be a government junkie. So,
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Brian. Everyone
yeah,
else,
thanks for having me.
yeah, no, hang with me for a second. But everyone else, thank you. You'll find the important links below. And if this is on YouTube or Facebook, just check out our website and you'll for this post, this podcast post, and you'll see all the links in there, leading back to pictures and all sorts of things that you need. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate you being with us. Bye.